Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let us chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for all session. Let us recite Bhagavad Gita Shloka. We are reciting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 12, text 9. If anyone needs to go first, please raise your hand. Yes, Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Go ahead, Mataji.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So next is Inya, Jai Shri Mataji, Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
अथ चित्तं समादातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो माम् इच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. Translation. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Yeah.
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Thanks, Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
अथ चित्तं समादातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभियासि योगेन ततो माम् इच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. Translation. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
He's not here, Mataji, so out of time.
Okay. Isha.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Yeah. Krishna Ashish.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Madhava.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. Oh, my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Yes. Rasapriya.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Yeah. Saujanya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All good Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Anyone else? Okay, I'll recite. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 9. Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknosi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mamichaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. in this way develop a desire to attain me. Na shaknoshi, yeah. Sorry, shaknoshi, na shaknoshi. Okay, so let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18. Yayati, King Yayati's King Yayati regains his youth. So there's a couple of points which I would like to go over again, what we read yesterday. First of all, about King Nahusha. Just quickly. Uh, uh, King Pururava. We know King Pururava. So Pururava is all. Okay, we'll start with Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is born from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And Lord Brahma's son is Atri, right? Atri Muni. And Atri's son is Soma. And Soma's son is Buddha. Buddha's son is Pururava. Pururava had 6 sons, and the first one is Ayu. Ayu's son, Ayu had 5 sons. First is Nahusha, and Nahusha had 6 sons. First is Yati, second is Yayati, and then there's remaining 4. So when Nahusha, so what exactly happened was, because Saujanya Mataji also brought up yesterday how Nahusha, King Nahusha became a python. So I heard this history today from His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj's lecture. So I think Inia said yesterday, right, that when, or Mataji only said, Saujanya Mataji said, Vritrasur. So because of Brahmahatya, Lord Indra had to, he performed, he could not stay on the throne of heaven because he went to do his prayashchitta. So now there is no king for heavens. So the demigods personally invited Nahusha to come and rule, take the post of Indra while Indra was absent. They personally went and called Nahusha to come to heaven and take the position of Indra. So he was such a qualified person. But Maharaj says that the position of Indra means the power and the opulence. Just simply sitting on the throne, it intoxicates you because of that power. So he felt, Nahusha, when he became Indra, so he was given all the facilities of Indra, because now he was actually doing the job of Indra. So everyone was honoring him and all that. But because of this, how do you say, madness, right? Isn't it? Madness of power. Simply by being in that position, that's what position does to a person, right? If you're not actually Krishna conscious, then when you get opulence, when you get power, you start, acting strangely. So Nahusha felt that now that I'm Indra, Indra's wife Sachi should also accept me as her master, because I am the king of heaven now. So he actually ordered her that she should come and she should serve him and please him. So then, when she received this order in a helpless condition, she didn't know what to do. So she went and prayed to the demigod, the guru of the demigods, Brihaspati, that Nahusha is calling me to serve him. Please protect my honor. Then Brihaspati told her, don't worry. You tell him, yes, I will come and serve you. I will accept you. But I have a condition. I want you to come on a palanquin which is drawn by the Saptarshis. So usually if you have a palanquin or a chariot, it's okay, palanquin, it's carried by some people, isn't it? So, but Sachi Devi, the wife of Lord Indra, her condition was, or her request was, that Nahusha should come to her place riding on a palanquin which is carried by the Saptarshis. I don't know if it's exactly a palanquin or a chariot, something, but it was basically being carried or pulled by the Saptarshis. Priyanka Mataji?
Palanquin, Mataji, like, yeah, on
It's
the
a
top of,
palanquin.
shoulder, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
Nahushul king, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So palanquin. So then Nahusha, because he had only one thing in his mind. He wanted to enjoy with Sachi Devi. Oh, such a simple condition, such a simple request. That's not a problem. I am the king of heaven. Of course, the Saptarishis, they have to carry out my order. So he told the Saptarishis, carry me. So the way Maharaj said was, like you have your office, you go to work. So his work was done that day. So he called for the Saptarishis to carry him to Sachi Devi's place, her wherever she was staying. They started, the Saptarishis also, they started carrying Nahusha. But while going, he was in a hurry. He wanted them to go faster because he wanted to go and meet with Sachi. So he's saying, Sarpa, Sarpa. So Sarpa in Sanskrit, Sarpa, Sarpa means move faster, right? Go quickly. Sarpa, Sarpa. And while saying that, he even kicked Agastya Muni, one of the Saptarshis, telling him to move faster. So when he kicked Agastya Muni said, you fool, you're saying Sarpa, Sarpa. You don't know. You are going to become a Sarpa yourself. That means a snake. Like he cursed him. Like, this is how you treat Saptarshis, the Brahmins. So you become a snake. Go fall on the earth and you become a snake. When Nahusha got cursed like this to become a snake, then he came to his senses. Oh, what did I do? The Brahmanas, the Saptarshis, they are to be worshipped. Why did I act like this? What came over me? And he immediately fell on the feet of Agastya Muni and he said, oh, uh, uh, great one, actually it's not me, it's this seat, right? Indra's throne, this position, it drives a person crazy. I'm actually not like this. I'm not that kind of a person, but simply coming in this position, I don't know what happened to me. Please forgive me. So Agastya Muni understood he was genuinely repenting. So he said, don't worry, when an exceptionally exalted person, when you will have a dialogue with an exalted person, then I think that's what he said. When an exalted person comes to you and talks to you, actually he asks questions. The Nahusha, in the form of Python, he asks questions. So any person who answers those questions, that's how I read in Mahabharata. But so then you'll be free from this curse. So you'll be relieved from this Sarpa's body. You'll become Nahusha again. So also there was another. As a Python, Pythons don't keep moving around here and there. They just stay in a place. So also it is said that during the 6th portion of the day, the day is broken into different, in time, they're broken into so many parts of the day. Like you have morning, noon, and evening. So further, there are divisions of the day. So during the 6th portion of the day, anyone, it doesn't matter how powerful the person may be, or it can be it can be a lion, it can be an elephant, whoever it may be, when they come within your reach, they will lose all their power. So you can actually take them and eat them. So also this Python had this curse, from what I remember. He couldn't go anywhere. He would just stay in that one place. Then how he will eat? Like this, when an animal comes there within the reach at that time, then the animal loses all its power and this python can eat. And in this way, the python would survive. So that is the story about Mahabharata. We won't go into the details of Mahabharata, how Bhimsen came and all that. So Nahusha, eventually he's released from that curse when Bhimsen comes and answers his questions. But while Nahusha was in heaven, and after that when he was cursed to become a python, now meanwhile there's nobody to rule the earth. Nahusha was the emperor. So he had asked his eldest son Yati about Yati. Maharaj said that Yati, for the sake of bhakti, he didn't even accept the position of the king. That means Maharaj was glorifying, His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj was actually glorifying this Yati, that there was no competition, right? Usually there is rivalry, right? When there is property, then siblings are fighting, right? Oh, this is my share, this is my share. And then one person may say, anyway, I don't want to get into all this trouble, and they may just leave it and go away. It was not like that. Nobody was fighting. He was the eldest and he had the right. The father was offering to him the kingdom, but for the sake of bhakti, he felt, he could see that this is an impediment to my bhakti, so he didn't accept. So such great personalities we have had. So that was the point. So anyway, now that the eldest son is not accepting the throne, the father is not there, then someone has to rule. That's how Yayati became the king. Okay, so that was one aspect. Then the second thing that I wanted to tell was, because yesterday yes, Saujanya Mataji.
Mataji, it is 6th canto, think 13th chapter and 16th shloka. That is where they give only one shloka where they say about Yanush.
Nahusha.
Nahusha, sorry. I'm going to start with Nahusha and that part.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, I was about to ask about Jajati Maharaj. So, can you please give me a little bit about who is his father and which descendant he came from? Just a little bit.
Okay, Mataji. I usually give it every day at the beginning, but I think you joined a little late. I'll tell it again.
I cannot. I try, but every day I just
No problem.
finish
No
for
problem.
joining.
Okay, so this is the Chandra Vamsa. We are reading about the Moon Dynasty. So the Moon Dynasty goes like this. First of all, you have from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Lord Brahma is born. Lord Brahma's son is Atri Muni. Atri Muni's son is Soma, or the moon god. Soma's son is Buddha. So we read that history, how Soma took Brihaspati's wife Tara and they had a son Buddha. This Buddha, again, he married Sudyumna in the form of a woman, right, Ila. And they had a son called Pururava. Pururava is the one who was attracted to Urvashi and they had 6 sons. From Urvashi, Pururava had 6 sons. The eldest is Ayu. This Ayu had 5 sons. The eldest is Nahusha. Nahusha had 6 sons. Eldest is Yati. Then the second son is Yayati. And then also
Okay.
you have, yeah. So this is Yayati's story.
Okay. Yes, that's what I heard the part before, but Nahusha and Jayati that I missed. So
Yes,
I was
okay.
thinking.
Yes,
Thank you, Mother.
Mataji.
Thank you
Sure.
so much.
No problem. So that was one thing about Nahusha and Yayati becoming king. Then the next thing that I want to say is Yayati had sons both from Devyani and Sharmishta. But the thing is, Devyani is a Brahmana's daughter and Yayati is a Kshatriya. So Pratiloma, you are familiar with Hindi words Anukul and Pratikul, right? Anukul means that which is favorable. Pratikul means unfavorable. So similarly, Anuloma and Pratiloma. Anuloma means that which is favorable. Pratiloma means which is not acceptable. It is not favorable. So nobody would go for such because it was not sanctioned. Pratiloma wedding. So when a boy marries a girl from a higher caste, such a marriage is called pratiloma, and no boy would go for such a marriage. It is not advisable. So Yayati, a Kshatriya, married, you know, a great rishi, right? Shukracharya's, a Brahmana's daughter. Why did he do that? So in answer to that, it is said that actually this is not a Pratiloma wedding. It is said that it is actually not a Pratiloma wedding. Externally, yeah, it appears that a Kshatriya is marrying a Brahmana's daughter, so it is Pratiloma. But in reality, Sukadev Goswami is saying to Parikshit Maharaj, it is not Pratiloma. Why? Because this is ordained by the Supreme Lord. How it is ordained by the Supreme Lord? So to explain that, Sukadev Goswami narrates the incident, how Devyani came to be the wife of Yayati. So here, one more thing, because when we discussed yesterday, there's some points that Maharaj brought out. I wanted to touch on those points. Devyani is actually a very qualified, high charactered lady. She was the daughter of a great sage, Brahmana, and she herself, being the daughter of such a great Brahmana, was also a very, great person. And of course, exceptionally beautiful. So Maharaj said, don't ever make the mistake of, you have to be careful when you talk about Devyani, that, So now when we read about that incident, when Devyani Sharmishta were, in the garden, and when they went into the reservoir of water to take bath, at that time they saw, so again, why Devyani acted like that? She never gets angry. She never got angry before. Then why she acted like that? Because this was providence and this was arranged by the higher authorities. She had to, her wedding had to take place with Yayati. So therefore, this whole thing was arranged. Otherwise, this was not her nature to become angry like that. And it is actually not at all reasonable, right? Or it was not at all reasonable for her to get angry at Sharmishta, but still she got angry. This shows that this is not, uh, her nature. Rather, this was like, it was arranged by providence. Then also, so what happened was they saw Lord Shiva from a distance, and the ladies, so they also, Sharmishta had so many, maids, girls, other girls with her. So they were all naked. They put their saris on the shore. They got into the river or water reservoir, and they were taking baths, splashing water on each other. And then when they saw Lord Shiva at a distance, they felt ashamed. And also, it was an offense to come naked in front of anyone. So hurriedly they were, before he could come close, they got shocked, and quickly they reached out to their clothes on the uh, bank, on the shore. Another thing is, Sharmishta's and Devyani's saris looked the same. They were of the same material and of the same color. So Sharmishta, hastily, when she came out to just put on sari, she just took the sari of Devyani, thinking that it was her sari. She took the sari thinking that it was hers. But even if she had taken Devyani's sari thinking that it is Devyani's, still there was nothing wrong in that, because they were friends. They were friends. So, two friends wearing each other's clothes is not an offense. It's not bad. It's not an offense at all. But when Sharmishta took the sari, Devyani could have just, oh, that's my sari. And then she could have just exchanged it then and there. And uh, the issue would have been solved. Rather, she reacted like, oh, look at this low class woman, right? Who, right? Yeah, she said, she said like, um, the ghee which is meant to be offered in yagya, if the priests are not attentive, what happens? Sometimes dogs come and eat up the ghee. So, like that, her sari was like the ghee meant for yagya, and Sharmishta is like a dog who came and stole that sari, like that, she said. That's why I'm explaining today, because at every step I heard Maharaj being very, very careful and only glorifying Devyani, not that, you know, so that's why I'm saying it again with that flavor today. because we don't want to commit any offenses to any great personalities. So then, her acting like this was by providence. That's the point. Otherwise, she wouldn't act like that normally. And then, yeah, again, on the contrary, our Sharmishta, Maharaj says, Devyani is the daughter of Sharmishta's father's guru. So Guru's daughter must be respected and honored. Even if she said something harsh, Sharmishta should have kept quiet. It was not appropriate for her, for Sharmishta, to react like that. That's the twist also. And also, if you hear the shlokas that are spoken by Devyani, she was glorifying the Supreme Lord. So I can even share those verses, or I'll just tell you, you can look at it later. But basically, she's saying, Lord Vishnu, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the master of the whole. So that means, see, what is the state of mind of Devyani at that time? She was very angry that Sharmishta took her sari. But even in that anger, she did not lose her uh, her her God consciousness. She didn't lose that. So again, here the point that was being made by Maharaj is that those who are of a high character, those who are great personalities, even when they are in pain, even when they are suffering, unbecoming words never come from their lips, from their mouth. They never say anything nasty. They never say anything inappropriate, even when they are in pain. So Devyani was disturbed, she was angry, but even in that condition, she was actually glorifying the Lord. And when she said that we are the descendants of Bhrigu, that was also actually a glorification only, right? But about Sharmishta, Maharaj said, when she said, she was not talking anything about the Supreme Lord, or, one more point. She said that it is the Brahmanas who show the path, right? The Vedic path to the whole universe. Everyone is created by the Brahmanas, right? First, the sages were created by Lord Brahma. And then from them, all the rest of the creation, right? Prajapatis were created, and then from them, everyone else was coming. So she was glorifying. So this Varnashram system is also given by the Brahmanas, and this Varnashram system is meant to bring one back to Krishna consciousness. So this is the contribution of the Brahmanas, like that. So her words were all glorifying the Supreme Lord. That was the point. Even though she was angry, Devyani's words were all in line with Shastra. She's talking from the scripture and she's glorifying the Lord. Whereas when Sharmishta spoke, completely base, right? Coming to the level of, she's just talking about, you beggar, you come to our door and you beg whatever you are eating and wearing, isn't it given by us? So coming to a very low base platform and speaking. That's what Maharaj said. So, okay, but of course, after the whole thing, when Sharmishta angrily pushed Devyani, threw Devyani into the well and went away, and then King Yayati came, and there also, when King Yayati, he saw Devyani, and he pulled her out of the well, and Devyani said that, you know, that by providence, this is by the arrangement of providence, he is her husband. So then King Yayati was like, no, you should marry a Brahmana. You're the daughter of a Brahmana, you should marry a Brahmana. But Devyani said, I can never marry a Brahmana. Why is that so? King Yayati asked why. And then she said, oh, I was cursed by the son of Brihaspati, Kach. I was cursed. Why were you cursed? Because I cursed him. Like this. So we read that yesterday. So that's why I cannot marry a Brahmana. That is why this is the arrangement of providence that you came here. And so at this point, Yayati was actually considering that this is actually not according to Dharma. This marrying a Kshatriya man's marrying a Brahmana wife, this is not according to Dharma. But still, I am attracted to her, isn't it? So there, again, another point is said that those who are great souls, even whatever comes in their mind, only that which is according to Dharma comes into their mind. If they get a desire, that desire, they can never get a desire which is not according to Dharma. So if they get a desire in their mind, it should be understood that it must be Dharma. So now King Yayati was contemplating, this is not appropriate that, she's a Brahmana and I'm a Kshatriya, and how I can accept her as my wife, but still I'm getting attracted to her. And then he considered, according to scripture, what should be done. And then he felt, yes, it would be appropriate to accept her as his wife. That means his decision to marry Devyani was after contemplating the circumstance, the situation. He decided it was according to Dharma. Only then he agreed. But he said, I will marry you only when your father agrees for this marriage. When he gives you your hand to me, that's when I will marry you. And also Maharaj said that even though they were there, right, and both were agreeable, Devyani had asked him to marry and he agreed, but he didn't even touch her. He didn't even touch her because he was of such a great character that he would only touch her after her father would marry her, give her in marriage to him. After she became his legally married wife, that's when he would touch her. Otherwise, he wouldn't even touch. So that's how she went back to her house and he went back to his house. Now, yes, as soon as King Yayati left, right from that spot, she started crying. Because she could have died, anything could have happened to her in that well if King Yayati had not come. And in that condition, crying, where would a girl go? Either should go to her mother or her father, right? Somebody that she can trust. So she just went crying to her father, and then she started narrating everything that happened. Of course, She was only saying all the bad things that Sharmishta did. She didn't say what she did. She said, Sharmishta did this to me. I could have died. And so her whole thing was, Sharmishta has wronged me, and she needs to be taught a lesson. Basically, that's what it was. And then King Yayati, if he had not come, oh, he saved me, like that. Okay. Then now Shukracharya felt bad. He took it to the next level. This her father, Devyani's father, Shukracharya, is thinking, all this happened because I accepted this priesthood from this king. If only I had never accepted this position, then that girl would not have said so many things to us, that we are beggars and this and that. If she is saying, means where did it come from? Her father must be thinking like that. Otherwise, how she got that idea? Oh, it's like in Hindi you say, धिक्कार है ऐसे जीवन पे, right? Uh, what an abominable life, right? He's a Brahmana, but he's going, and his student thinks that he's a beggar. It's better that I live by this uncha vritti, just collect some grains in the market that are fallen on the ground or in the field, like this. And he was telling his daughter, let's forget all this. We'll leave and we'll go away from here. We'll go and live like that. Huh? She had other plans, yeah. But then, yeah, he went. Meanwhile, there, Sharmishta's father, King Vrishaparva, he found out and he was worrying, oh my God, you know why? Shukracharya is the guru of the Daityas, uh, the Asuras. If the guru becomes upset, anything can happen. First of all, he can curse them. And if they're cursed, they're doomed. The demigods will overtake them immediately without a guru. Like, remember what happened to Indra. When he insulted Brihaspati, what happened? Right? Brihaspati just disappeared from there. And then Indra had to face so many troubles. So Vrishaparva was worried. Oh my God, my daughter did this to Devyani. So before Shukracharya could come and say anything, he just went and fell flat on the feet of his guru Shukracharya, begging for forgiveness. Whatever my daughter has done, please don't think that she's my daughter. Devyani and Sharmishta, they're both your daughters, right? So if your daughter does something wrong, however you would treat her, please, you do the same thing to her. They're both equally your daughters. Sharmishta is also as much your daughter as Devyani. If she has done something, please, my Lord, forgive her, like that. One more point here. When a gentle person or a sadhu is only angry until the offender does pranam. As soon as the offender offers obeisances, the sadhu, all his anger goes away. He won't have any anger in his heart. Of course, the pranam has to be genuine, right? But yeah, even otherwise, if you just bow down and if you say, I'm sorry, a gentle person will not keep anything in his heart, he'll just forgive. Whereas a wicked person, right? How long will he be angry? He will be angry until the other person, the offender, dies. And even after he dies, until the person dies, he cannot give up his anger. No matter what he does, he comes and begs forgiveness or whatever, he cannot forgive. This is the difference between a gentle person and a wicked person. So Shukracharya was a high-souled Brahmana. So as soon as Vrishaparva came and fell on his feet, no problem. So he said, Whatever the girls did, I have no problem with all that. I'm not keeping anything in my heart. But I just want to tell you something, that I cannot give up on Devyani. That means Devyani she has a request, she has a desire. So you take care of that. I'm not able to give up on Devyani. That means whatever she's saying, you please do that. I'm not holding anything against what happened, earlier. I'm not holding against that your daughter said it. No, all that is forgiven. But I cannot give up on Devyani. She has a request, you deal with that. Okay. So Devyani, what did she say? Whoever my father gets me married to, or when I get married to somebody, when my father gets me married to one person, at that time, I want Sharmishta, along with all her maids and girlfriends, to come as my Dasi, to go with me as my Dasi. Here, it is not that Vrishaparva, forced Sharmishta. Like yesterday, we had a long discussion. Oh, we feel sorry for the ladies, so on and so forth. So in this case, the way Maharaj explained is that it is not that Vrishaparva forced Sharmishta. In fact, when Devyani was telling Vrishaparva what her desire was, Sharmishta was also standing there. She was listening. So Devyani wants Sharmishta to go with her as her servant. And Sharmishta is thinking in her heart, if I say no to what Sharmishta is telling me to do, what will be the consequence? Shukracharya will become upset. If Shukracharya becomes upset, what will happen? My father and the entire Asura clan will be in danger without a guru. And he can even curse. He can curse. So that's not a good result, good consequence. It's not a profitable decision. On the contrary, if I said yes, and if I went as a servant of Devyani, then Shukracharya will be pleased, and my father and all the Daityas, they will be nicely protected by Shukracharya. So this was Sharmishta's decision. And again, this shows her greatness, how she is willing to sacrifice her life for the sake of, everyone else, for the sake of her community, her father, like that. And one more point here is, it is not that she was just, see, who is Sharmishta? She is not a Dasi's daughter. She is the princess, she is the king's daughter. So she cannot just be. So Aditi Lata Mataji had a valid point yesterday. I did not know this detail, right? This point. It was, so I heard today, Sharmishta was not sent without marriage. She was actually married. She along with, so King Yayati married Devyani along with Sharmishta. Sharmishta was married to King Yayati. Okay. So Devyani was married, Sharmishta was also married. But at the time of marriage, Devyani's father, Shukracharya, we will read this, but I'm just telling you. Shukracharya came and told Yayati, King Yayati, no matter what happens, you should never allow Sharmishta to come on your bed, nor should you ever go on her bed. Very strict, serious order. So again, in Vedic life, saying something like this, right, is sufficient to tell, right? So basically, he's saying you cannot associate with Sharmishta. You cannot have any intimate connections with Sharmishta. Even though she's getting married to you, she'll be with, right? You will not directly, you cannot go on her bed or she cannot come on your bed. Never allow this. That was the condition. And King Yayati was aware of that. I mean, he heard that. So this was the condition. So then after that, what happened while we are reading, I will explain. So let's continue now, wherever we stopped yesterday. So we finished all this. I think 29. After hearing Shukracharya's request, 28. After hearing Shukracharya's request, Vrishaparva agreed to fulfill Devayani's desire and he awaited her words. Devayani then expressed her desire as follows: whenever I marry by the order of my father, my friend Sharmishta must go with me as my maidservant along with her friends. So now text 29. Whose turn is it today? Who's supposed to read? Was it Medha? Do you remember?
I think Rasapriya read last. I think so.
You read last. Okay. She also remembers. She read last. Okay. Thank you. So then I think Nilambari Radha Mataji is next. Yes. Nilambari Radha Mataji. I'll read the Sanskrit. Pitra datta devayanyai sharmishtha sanugatada. Sharmishta Sanuga, along with her friends. Tada Swanam Tat Sankatam Viksha Tadarthasya Cha Gauravam Devayanim Paryacharat Stri Sahasrena Dasavat. Yes, Mataji, Nilambari Radha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Vrishaparva wisely thought that Shukracharya's displeasure would bring danger and that his pleasure would bring material gain. Therefore, he carried out Shukracharya's order and served him like a slave. He gave his daughter Sharmishta to Devyani, and Sharmishta served Devjani like a slave, along with thousands of other women.
Yeah. So Pitra Datta Devayani Sharmishta Sanugatada. Okay. So what I told you was what I heard in the lecture. Okay. So whatever I said, and now we're just reading. Vrishaparva wisely thought that Shukracharya's displeasure would bring danger. So Vrishaparva also thought that Shukracharya's displeasure means it's danger, and Shukracharya's pleasure would bring material gain. Yes, if Shukracharya is happy, just like he can bring the dead soldiers back to life and so on and so forth. So if Shukracharya is pleased, then that means material gain. Therefore, he carried out Shukracharya's order and served him like a slave. Yes, so that Shukracharya will be pleased. And he gave his daughter Sharmishta to Devyani to serve Devyani like a slave, along with all her maids, Sharmishta's maids and friends, together with thousands of other women. He gave Sharmishta to Devyani. Purport. So after Nilamri Radha Mataji, I think Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. In the beginning of these affairs concerning Sharmishta and Devyani, we saw that Sharmishta had many friends, Now these friends became maidservants of Devyani. When a girl married a Kshatriya king, it was customary for all her girlfriends to go with her to her husband's house. For instance, when Vasudev married Devaki, the mother of Krishna, he married all 6 of her sisters, and she also had many friends who accompanied her. A king would maintain not only his wife but also the many friends and maidservants of his wife. Some of these maidservants would become pregnant and give birth to children. Such children were accepted as Dasi Putra. The sons of the maidservants and the king would maintain them. The female population is always greater than. We read this purport yesterday, right?
Yes, we
Mataji?
read, but go ahead. I realize that, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. The female
The
population
female.
is always greater than the male, but since a woman needs to be protected by the man, the king would maintain many girls who acted either as friends or as maidservants of the queen. In the history of Krishna's household life, we find that Krishna married 16,108 wives. These were not maidservants, but direct queens, and Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms to maintain different establishments for each and every wife. This is not possible for ordinary men. Therefore, although the kings had to maintain many servants and wives, not all of them had different establishments.
Yeah, so this one we discussed elaborately yesterday. We'll go to the next one. Saujanya Mataji. Nahushaya sutam dattva saha sharmishtayoshana tam aharajan charmishtam adhastalpena karhichit.
When Shukracharya gave Devyani in marriage to Yayati, he had Sarmishta go with her, but he warned the king, "My dear king, never allow this girl Samrishta to lie with you in your bed." Correct.
Yes, so very serious warning was given by Shukracharya to King Yayati, the husband of Devyani. Never allow this girl Sharmishta to lie with you in your bed. Vilokyaushanasim rajan Sharmishta suprajam kvachit tameva vavre rahasi sakhyah patim ritau sati. So, after Saujanya Mataji, Aditi Lata Mataji, right? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
O
Hare
King,
Krishna.
O King Parikshit, upon seeing Devyani with a nice son, Sarmishta once approached King Yayati at the appropriate time for conception. In a secluded place, she requested the king, the husband of her friend Devyani, to enable her to have a son also.
Yes. So here, the way Maharaj explained is, His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj explains, she was actually married to Yayati. And Devyani already had a child. Now, because she was married to Yayati, the only way she could have a child was through him. And unless he gave her a child, she would be childless. And a woman wants a child, right? And it's not wrong for her to want to have a child. So she actually requested King Yayati to give her also children. Because it is dharma, it is not against dharma. This is not against dharma to give a child. In fact, she was actually married to him. But Kshatriya code is, if a woman, for some reason, she could not have a child, she couldn't get a child, and if she approaches a man, man means Kshatriya only. This is only for Kshatriyas, not for anyone else. This is a rule for Kshatriyas. If a woman, a qualified woman, of course, approaches a Kshatriya man asking to father her child. That means to have a child. If she approaches him for a child, he is actually, according to Kshatriya codes, he's required to oblige her request. If she is actually not a low class woman, if she is a qualified lady, if she approaches and if she says, either she says, I want to marry you or I want to have a child from you, he must oblige. You remember in Mahabharat, Hidimbi, right? She approached Bhimsen and Yudhishthir Maharaj said, yeah, you must accept her. And in Arjun's case also, Ulupi approaches Arjun and he agrees like that. So here Sharmishta approached Yayati. King Yayati is a Kshatriya, and on top of that, she was married to him. There's no way that she could have a child unless, and for him to give her a child was perfectly according to dharma. It is not against dharma. That is the point. Of course, King Yayati remembered what Shukracharya told him, right? Never allow this Sharmishta to lie down on your bed. He remembered that also. And then he actually contemplated on this. And he came to the conclusion that what Sharmishta said was correct. It was according to dharma. It was his responsibility, his duty to give her a child if she wanted one, because he took that position as a husband. He must. So here it was not at all for sense enjoyment or because of, it was not at all that. It was as a duty. He actually gave her children. Sharmishta had 3 sons from King Yayati, whereas Devyani had 2 sons from King Yayati. So now we'll read further. O King Parikshit, upon seeing Devyani with, somebody is supposed to read this, or we read that already. O King Parikshit, upon seeing Devyani with a nice son, Sharmishta once approached King Yayati at the appropriate time for conception. So again, her whole purpose was to have a child, that's all. She was not trying to disturb his married life, nothing. She just wanted a son. So she went at the appropriate time, right? If she had sex at that time, she would have a child. So she went at the right time and she asked him, explained to him her situation, that she should, it was according to dharma. She approached King Yayati at the appropriate time for conception. In a secluded place, she requested the king, the husband of her friend Devyani, to enable her to have a son also. Next. Arunita is there, Mataji?
No, Mataji.
Okay. In Rajaputriarthitopatye dharmam chavekshya dharmavit स्मरन् शुक्र वचः काले दिष्टम् एवाभ्यपद्यत.
When Princess Sharmishtha begged King Yayati for a son, the king was certainly aware of the principles of religion, and therefore he agreed to fulfill her desire. Although he remembered the warning of Shukracharya, he thought of this union as the desire of the Supreme, and thus he had sex with Sharmishtha.
Yes. Again, just remember that point. King Yayati was also not an ordinary person. He was a great soul. So he would never ever do anything which is adharma. So when he contemplated on the circumstance, he could see that this is the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. So he must just do it. He must give Sharmishta children like that. So although he remembered the warning of Shukracharya, it's not that he forgot, that in the weakness of the moment, he just enjoyed with Sharmishta. Not like that. He was very well aware of everything. He remembered the warning of Shukracharya. In spite of that, he felt that this union with Sharmishta is the desire of the Supreme Lord, so he must go for it. So he had sex with Sharmishta. Purport. So Inia read, right? Inba is going to read the purport.
No, Mataji, she's not here.
Mataji is there?
No, Mataji.
Okay. Isha?
King Yayati was completely aware of the beauty of a Kshatriya. When a Kshatriya is approached by a woman, he cannot deny her. This is a religious principle. Consequently, when Dharmaraj Yudhishthir saw Arjun unhappy after Arjun returned from Dwaraka, he asked whether Arjun had refused a woman who had begged for a son. Although Maharaj Yayati remembered Shukracharya's warning, he could not refuse Sharmishta. He thought it was wise to give her a son, and thus he had sexual intercourse with her after her menstrual period. This kind of lust is not against religious principles, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.11. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi. Sex life, not contrary to the principles of religion, is sanctioned by Krishna. Because Sharmishta, the daughter of a king, had begged Yayati for a son, their combination was not lust, but an act of religion.
Yes. So when you act against, so whatever is your dharma means that which is prescribed, for you by the Shastra, by the scriptures. If you do that, there won't be any sinful reaction. There is no sin in that. Rather, it will help you advance in your spiritual life. So, the sex is not bad. Illicit sex is bad. That is sin. Illicit sex is sin. Now then you'll have to understand what is illicit sex. Illicit sex is not just with someone other than one's spouse. It is also for what purpose you're doing. That is also important. Sex is meant for procreation. It is meant for reproduction. And if it is used for any purpose other than that, then it is actually going to obstruct your spiritual progress, whether it is legal or illegal. Illegal means it's outside of marriage. Legal is within marriage. But even within marriage, when it is done not for procreation of children, then it is going to thwart your spiritual progress. You won't be able to make spiritual progress because it is not according to dharma. So when you act against dharma, then there will be consequences for that. Okay. And then, but what if you do it according to dharma? Anything which you do according to dharma, so there you are not, what is the purpose why you're doing it? When you act according to dharma, why you're sticking to dharma? What is the reason? Because dharma is given by Shastra. Because of honoring Shastra, you will follow dharma. Whether following your dharma is giving you pain or pleasure, that is not a concern. Just like matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama payano nityas tam titikshasva bharata. Krishna told Arjun, right? Prabhupada in the purport gives the example of a woman. She cooks in the kitchen every day. So winter time, it's nice, pleasurable. Like right now, it's very, very cold. This is the coldest time of the year in Mayapur, in India, right? This Sankranti, Makar Sankranti time, it's very, very cold compared to all the days that passed so far. And when you go in the kitchen to cook, oh, that's the best place to be in because it's nice and warm near the stove. And then after a couple of months, it's going to get really hot. And you cannot stand in the kitchen. You'll be like just sweating. Now, whether it is pleasurable or it is painful, does the woman stop cooking? No, she still has to cook. She has to cook. Why? Because it's her dharma. So if she continues to do her dharma, regardless of whether it is pleasurable or it is painful, by doing that dharma and tolerating the pains and pleasures when one sticks to one's dharma, what will happen? What is the result? He will get purification. He'll become purified. What will happen when you're purified? You will be lifted from the lower modes of passion and ignorance to the mode of goodness. What happens when you come to the mode of goodness? You'll get spiritual knowledge. What is the spiritual knowledge? I'm not this body. I am a spirit soul. So this is the significance of following one's dharma. So those who are great persons like King Yayati, they never do anything which is against dharma. They won't. And it's not that they are willingly doing, that is there. Willingly they'll do dharma, but even subconsciously without their knowledge also, any thought that comes to their mind, they cannot get any thoughts which are not dharma. For exalted persons, great persons, this is the case. So coming back to the purport, King Yayati, he decided that accepting Sharmishta's proposal was actually dharma in that case. Why? Because he's a Kshatriya, and when a woman approaches a Kshatriya for a son, he cannot refuse her. Was she qualified? Of course she was qualified. She is the queen, she is the princess, she is the daughter of a king, and she was also married to him. And if she's approaching him to have a child, it is dharma. Such dharma is, such an act, dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi. Krishna saying such lust, I am that lust. That dharma which is not, or that lust which is not against dharma, I am that, Krishna is saying. That means it's Krishna's vibhuti. So considering all this, Yayati agreed. So this Yayati's union with Sharmishta was totally according to dharma. That's what we should remember. Let me see how many shlokas are there in this chapter. We are in 33 now. Oh, there's more. So we'll continue tomorrow. We'll stop here. So Isha read, right? So Krishna Shish will read tomorrow. And I will read Bhagavad Gita and Leela Amrita now. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 1, text 15. Please repeat. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjayah Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhima-karma Vrikodaraha. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjun blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra. What is Krishna's conch shell called? Arjun's and Bhima's? Yeah. Panchajanya is Krishna's, Devadatta is Arjun's, and Poundra is Bhimsen's conch shell. So, what did we read? After hearing Duryodhana's talks with Dronacharya, Bhishmadev could sense the fear experienced by Duryodhana and also how much he depended on Bhishmadev and how he was glorifying Bhishmadev in front of Duryodhana. So to give joy to Duryodhana's heart and also to, to to give him joy and to give him some encouragement. Bhishmadev blew his conch shell like a lion, and that sound was heard both on earth and in the sky. And hearing Bhishmadev, who was the senior most member on that battlefield in both armies, he was the senior most. Hearing his conch shell, then all the other Kauravas blew their conch, and the Pandavas side, now we are seeing on the Pandavas side, stationed on a chariot drawn by white horses, Rishikesha, Krishna, and Arjun, they blew their conch shells, and Bhimsen blew his conch, like that we are reading now. Of course, it is said that Krishna, Arjun, they blew their transcendental conch shells. That was not said for Bhishma Dev and the Kauravas. Okay, purport. Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. Yes, this is actually a coincidence. I was just, not today, yesterday, I was just reading the second canto, 6th chapter. The very first verse of the second canto, 6th chapter talks about how the from the limbs of the Supreme Lord, all the different senses, right, and the controlling deities of senses and the sense objects are generated. So, first of all, there is Garbhodakashai Vishnu. Garbhodakashai Vishnu is transcendental. And from Garbhodakashai Vishnu comes, or the Virata Purusha. Virata Purusha means the whole universe, right? On the body of Virata Purusha are the various planets of this universe. The various planets of the universe are located on the body of Virata Purusha. Virata Purusha's body is made of material elements. But the Virata Purusha's body is made exactly according to Garbhodakashai Vishnu's body, the shape and limbs and everything. That means the prototype for Virata Purusha is Garbhodakashai Vishnu, the blueprint, right? Based on Garbhodakashai Vishnu's form, Virata Purusha is formed, is generated in the universe. So there it is said, from the mouth of Garbhodakashai Vishnu, the voice and what else? The controlling deity of a voice is of mouth or voice is fire, Agni. They were generated. That means from the mouth of Garbhodakashai Vishnu, the mouth of Virata Purusha is generated. And then further, from Virata Purusha, the living entities are generated. So what is said in this verse here? Bhagavad Gita. Rishikesha means he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. How the senses of the living entities are part and parcel of Garbhodakashai Vishnu senses, that's what I was explaining. Of course, how is the Virata Purusha formed? Garbhodakashai Vishnu along with Maya, because Virata Purusha's body is made of material elements. Where are the material elements generated from? From the material energy. So Garbhodakashai Vishnu and Maya, right? And then with that, from that, Virata Purusha is manifested. Okay. So then You may get a question here that when we read about creation, the sequence is from Prakriti. Karanodakshaya Vishnu glances on Prakriti, and by that glance, Prakriti is impregnated. Kala Shakti also falls, right? And then Pradhana, then Mahatattva is produced. From Mahatattva, Ahankara is produced. Ahankara, false ego. And then Ahankara and goodness, passion and ignorance. Ahankara and goodness is manifesting or creating the mind. And the mind and the controlling deities. Ahankara and passion is creating the senses, 10 different types of senses. And Ahankara in ignorance is generating the gross elements and the sense objects. Of course, Ahankara in passion also generates intelligence and the senses. So you may say, all this is coming from Prakriti, right? The senses are coming from Prakriti. Sense objects, senses, controlling deities of the senses, they're all coming from Prakriti. How you are saying they're coming from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu? Do you get that question or not? So, what is Prakriti? Prakriti is also the energy of the Lord, isn't it? It is external energy, but still, does Prakriti have independent existence without the Lord? No. Can Prakriti exist independently without the Lord? It cannot exist. Although it is outside of the Lord, still the existence of Prakriti is because of the Lord. It is the Lord's energy. In that way, when you say something is created from Prakriti, Shakti and Shaktiman are abhinnatvat. They are not different in one sense. Why? Because the Shakti cannot exist without the Shaktiman. In that sense, Shakti and Shaktiman are not different. I don't know if it's going over your head. I'm just saying it. So if you're able to grasp it, it's good. If you're not able to grasp it, don't worry. But yeah, so that's how the senses of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu are the source for the senses of Virata Purusha and thereby for the senses of the living entities also. That's all. That's the point I was trying to explain. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. Those who are impersonalists, right? They cannot account for the senses of the living entities. Okay, yeah, here again, Mataji. So the impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities. Why? Because they say this everything, well, impersonalists means again there's two types. Are we talking about Brahmavadis or Mayavadis? If we are talking about Mayavadis, then they say this world is false. So all the bodies here, everything is false. False means it's not even existing. It doesn't exist. Just like the dream. Dream has no reality. Like that, this whole world, these bodies, relations, and the bodies themselves, nothing is real, they say. So they cannot account for the senses of the living entities. Therefore, they're always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs them. But what is the fact? The fact is there is Paramatma in the heart who is directing the senses. How he is directing the senses? Based on your karma, right? So if someone has that karma, then they have that potency in those senses. They can function, the senses can function. And someone who doesn't have that karma, the Lord does not give that Shakti, Kriya Shakti and Jnana Shakti to the senses. You have Jnana Indriyas and Karma Indriyas. Working senses are Karma Indriyas. knowledge acquiring senses are Gyanendriyas. Where do they get their potency? Where do they get their power? From Paramatma. That Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti is coming from Paramatma. So he is the Lord of all the senses. He is the one who is directing the senses. Unless he gives them the Shakti, either Jnana Shakti or Kriya Shakti, the senses cannot function. Then is he being partial? To some people he'll give more Shakti, to some he does not give. Some people are intelligent, some people are not so intelligent. That means some people have more Jnana Shakti. Why he is doing that? To some people he is giving more, to some he is not giving. Is he being partial? No. Krishna says, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu, I am equal to everyone. Name Dveshyosti na Priyaha. Right? Then why he is giving more to some people means based on their karma. In Paramatma's role, he is neutral. Based on the karma, he'll give. Nevertheless, unless he gives, nobody has any power to act or use their senses. So he is Rishikesha, the master of the senses. But he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. Yes, now we are talking about Krishna here. So Paramatma's function is different, and Krishna as Bhagavan only reciprocates with his devotees. When one surrenders to Krishna, then Bhagavan comes in his life. Otherwise, Bhagavan has nothing to do with that person. He doesn't have anything to do with that person. Paramatma deals. Bhagavan only in the form of Paramatma will deal with that person in a neutral way based on your karma. But ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya, when one becomes a devotee and serves Krishna, then maite teshu chapyaham. Very nicely, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives commentary on this. Maite teshu cha api aham. That means when someone becomes my devotee, I become attached to that person. Krishna is saying, I become attached to that person, and that person also becomes attached to me. Otherwise, before he becomes a devotee, Name dveshyosti na priyaha. Nobody is dear to me. Nobody, how? Just like a analogy is like a kalpavriksha tree, desire tree. Kalpavriksha tree, when someone goes to a kalpavriksha tree and asks for something, doesn't the kalpavriksha tree give them? It does. You go and ask, give me a mango, the tree will give you a mango. You say, give me rasgulla, the tree will give you rasgulla. Whatever you want, she will give, the tree will give. And whoever goes, the tree will give. It's not that, only if a pious person comes, the tree will give, an impious person comes. No. Kalpavriksha tree means wish fulfilling tree. Anyone who wishes goes there and asks, the tree will give. So Krishna is saying, or Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, Krishna is like a Kalpavriksha tree. He is equal to everyone. Right? Someone goes with material desire, artho, artharti, jigyasu, jnani. Those who come to him with any desire, they get that. Artaha, somebody who is in distress, he goes to the Lord, please relieve me from my distress. Doesn't the Lord relieve the distress? Of course he does. So anyone can go to him. And even if some sinful person comes and asks the Lord for something, yes, the Lord will give. The Lord will give, like a Kalpavriksha tree. But those people are not devotees. When we say devotee, we are talking about pure devotees. So when a devotee comes and asks, then, actually the Lord becomes, doesn't specify pure devotee here, but anyone actually, anytime. Because when you go and ask the Lord, then it qualifies you as a devotee, some level devotee. You are still a devotee, not a pure devotee, but you are still a devotee. Why? Because you approached the Lord. You didn't go to someone else. You went to the Lord directly. Doesn't Krishna say, Chaturvida bhajante mam? Bhajante, they go and ask the Lord. Chaturvida bhajante mam. Krishna says, Udara sarva evaite. They are all Udara. Of them, the Jnani is most dear, the Lord says. Right? Of these four, the Jnani is the best, the Lord says. And of course, even better than the Jnani is a pure devotee. So anyway, so coming back to this point, the Lord is equal to everyone. But when one becomes a devotee, when does one become a devotee? When he surrenders, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. That is a devotee. After he surrenders to Krishna. What does that mean? Surrender means now I have no one else except you. No more, dependence on, this demigod, that demigod, or my family, or my husband, or my children, or my nation, or my bank balance, or nothing. My only shelter is Krishna. This is surrender. When one comes to that point, right? Mare Krishna rakhe Krishna mare ke. If he wants to kill me, he can kill me. If he wants to keep me, he'll keep me. This is surrender. So when one comes and depends on the Lord like that, then Krishna says, oh, he becomes attached to that person. That person becomes attached to Krishna. Krishna becomes attached to that person. And then anyone who disturbs that person, who gives a hard time, troubles that person, then Krishna takes it personally. He'll go and destroy. Like Hiranyakashipu was troubling Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev came to destroy Hiranyakashipu. Because, so that is why on one hand the Lord is compared to Kalpavriksha tree, but he is not an ordinary Kalpavriksha tree. Because Kalpavriksha tree, when it will give whatever a person asks, and after the person takes, finished. There's no relationship with that person. It's not that the Kalpavriksha tree is thinking, oh, that person took this from me. I wonder what he's doing. No, finished. Business is over. You want something, you take, you go away, it's finished. Is Krishna like that? No. When someone approaches Krishna, never mind for whatever, right? When someone approaches Krishna for something, he becomes a devotee, and Krishna becomes attached to that person, it is said. He becomes attached. So he's actually more than a Kalpavriksha tree. He's a special type of Kalpavriksha tree. He becomes attached to the person who comes to him to ask for something. But ye bhajanti tu, right? One who is worshipping Krishna, bhajanti, who is a devotee of Krishna, Krishna becomes attached to that person. Again, let's go back to the purport here. The impersonalists, they cannot account for the senses. The Lord, situated in the heart of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. That's the point. Those who don't surrender to Krishna, then he is directing the senses as Paramatma based on their karma. But when one surrenders to Krishna, like Arjun, then Krishna practically takes over the senses. Through the senses of the devotee, Krishna starts acting. Because the devotee is surrendered, isn't it? What did Krishna tell Arjun? Nimitta matram bhava samvyasachi. You simply become my instrument. Just like this pen is an you don't see, yeah. This pen is an instrument, right? Will the pen write on its own nice poetry? No. But when it becomes an instrument, I want to write poetry, and this pen just becomes an instrument. And whatever I want to write, the pen will write. This is called becoming an instrument. When does Krishna make the senses of a person his instruments? When that person surrenders to Krishna. Then Krishna uses that person's body to do wonderful things. So all wonderful things that are being done by a surrendered pure devotee of the Lord, these are being done by the Lord. The Lord is taking over the senses of the devotee, and he is doing wonderful things through the senses of that devotee. Why? Because the devotee has surrendered himself to Krishna. But does he do that with everyone? No. If someone is not a devotee, he won't do that. There also he is controlling the senses. He is still the master of the senses, but based on their karma, he will give whatever energy. But when one surrenders to Krishna, he actually takes control, takes charge of the senses, like that. So he has a special relationship with the devotees. Those who are non-devotees, he doesn't have that relationship. He directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. And in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjun. Arjun's senses are not material. Transcendental senses. He is an eternal associate of Krishna. Right? So the Lord is directly controlling the transcendental senses of Arjun, and thus his particular name of Rishikesha. Right? Krishna is called Rishikesh. Why? Because now he is going to control the senses of Arjun. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudan because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. So cows and senses are called Go. So Govinda, one who gives pleasure to go. So one who gives pleasure to cows and to the senses is Govinda. His name is Vasudev because he appeared as the son of Vasudev. His name is Devaki Nandan because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandan because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Partha Sarathi because he worked as charioteer of his friend Arjun. Partha is Arjun. Sarathi, chariot driver, is the chariot driver of Partha. Why he is called Parthasarathi? Because he worked as a charioteer of his friend Arjun. Similarly, his name is Hrishikesha. Hrishika means senses. Isha means controller. Hrishikesha means the controller of the senses. His name is Hrishikesha because he gave direction to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjun is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrikodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shell blown by the different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. If there's any more explanation, I will explain tomorrow this verse. And then we'll read a little bit of Leelamrita and I will wind up. It's already almost over half an hour past time. Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, continuation. Okay. Sometimes Robert would make purchases for Prabhupada with the money from his unemployment checks. Once he bought orange-colored t-shirts. Once he went to Woolworths and bought kitchen pots and pans and some picture frames for Prabhupada's pictures of Lord Chaitanya and his spiritual master. Robert, one time I wanted to know how to make chapati cakes. Chapati cakes. So Swami says, $100 please for the recipe. $100 please. So I went and got some money, but I couldn't get $100. But he showed me anyway. He taught me to cook and would always repeat, wash hands, and you should only eat with your right hand. And whoever met the Swami was almost always impressed. They would start smiling back to him, and sometimes they would say funny things to each other that were nice. The Swami's English was very technical always. I mean, he had a big vocabulary, but sometimes people had a little trouble understanding him, and you had to help sometimes. The Paradox at 64 East 7th Street on the Lower East Side was a restaurant dedicated to the philosophy of Georges Osawa and the macrobiotic diet. Okay, what is the name of the restaurant? Paradox. It was a storefront below street level, with small dining tables placed around the candlelit room. The food was inexpensive and well reputed. Tea was served free as much as you liked. More than just a restaurant, the Paradox was a center for spiritual and cultural interests. a meeting place reminiscent of the cafes of Greenwich Village or Paris in the 1920s, if you're familiar with that. A person could spend the whole day at the Paradox without buying anything, and no one would complain. The crowd at the Paradox was a mystical congregation interested in teachings from the East. When news of the new Swami uptown at Dr. Mishra's reached the Paradox, the word spread quickly. Harvey Cohen and Bill Epstein were friends. Harvey was a freelance artist, and Bill worked at the Paradox. After Harvey had been to Prabhupada's place at Dr. Mishra's yoga studio a few times, he came by the Paradox and began to describe all about the new Swami to Bill and other friends. So this is how the word is spreading about the Swami, Srila Prabhupada in New York. So we will stop there. We will continue tomorrow. Thank you all so much for joining even on a Sunday. Hare Krishna. You have a wonderful Sunday feast program, a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare